Welcome to SCBWI Carolina's Book Fairies First Look. I'm your host, Micki Bare, and today I have the privilege to introduce our very own regional illustrator coordinator, children's author and illustrator, Ashley Belote.
Thank you so much for having me on.
Oh, of course. So Ashley is the illustrator of Frankenslime and Valenslime by Joy Keller, and the author-illustrator of The Me Tree, A Partridge in the Wee Tree, Listen Up, Luella, Witch and Wombat, and Don't Wash Winston. She has a background in traditional animation under the direction of Don Bluth, and her graduate study included a children's literature and illustration course, The Whole Book Approach, through Simmons College at the Eric Carle Museum of Picture Book Art. Her new picture book, Sheepwrecked, has officially set sail to bookshelves everywhere from Random House children's books. Welcome, Ashley. It's so wonderful to have the opportunity to spotlight you and your works today.
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Obviously, I'm a huge supporter of SCBWI. They have done so much for me in my career. So I love to be active in any way that I can. And this is just the icing on the cake for me today.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Before we get started, let me tell everyone a little bit about Sheepwrecked. Set sail on a hilarious romp on the high seas with a group of pirate sheep and their big emotions. Join them as they bumble their way to a lost island and find the best treasure of all, friendship. Ahoy! Captain Hoof and his crew of sheep pirates are headed home with their treasure. Then, smash, crash, bam! The flock has been sheepwrecked. They're cursed. They're lost forever. They'll never make it home until a long-lost pirate helps the ragtag flock calm their nerves and see that things aren't all that bad. All's wool that ends wool in this hilariously absurd, adventurous picture book. I love the premise and especially the puns. This is fantastic. So, what was the inspiration behind Sheepwrecked?
Well, thank you for saying that. I had so much fun working on this book. I could not even tell you how much fun this was. So, the inspiration is actually from my childhood. I grew up on a sheep farm in Terra Alta, West Virginia, and was constantly surrounded by wildlife. We had tons of open space. I was outside all the time, and you just hear things and you see things, and those things stay with you for your whole life. And so during those formidable years, I was just, outside playing, hearing these animals and these sounds. And I would always fantasize about what these animals would do if they were to be given like a career choice. So obviously pirates, I mean, right?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So I would imagine them doing like all these crazy things. And then when I got the opportunity to work on this story, I was like, oh my gosh, this is the perfect time for me to think about what my sheep would do if they could do anything. So, of course, these ones became pirates. And I just kind of went from there. I'm a huge fan of the Pirates of the Caribbean movies and, of course, of my sheep. So it was a great mashup of some of my favorite things and just an opportunity for me to draw sheep, which was so fun too. So it was, it's kind of a combination of the things from my childhood plus the things that I just love. So it was a great mashup for me.
That is so cool. So you may have already answered this, but maybe elaborate. What was your favorite aspect of working on this book?
It was definitely the art, the wool that I could draw. The original version wasn't as textured. And I have an amazing art director and at Random House, and she came back and she liked the colors that I had chosen, and the texture was almost there. She's like, really try with the texture, try a couple of new things and see what you can kind of pull. So I got to use a lot of new techniques. I worked digitally for this book. So I made a few new brushes. And so my favorite part was the experimentation of the art, and which I do to an extent with every project that I work on. But for this one in particular, it was really fun. And I made them look like fuzzy. I wanted them to look soft-ish and like wool-ish and fuzzy-ish. So I tried to like make all these things happen and ended up with like my version of sheep wool. So it was a lot of fun. It really was.
Oh, that is so cool. So let's talk a little bit about that. What different skills and techniques did you use to actually create that?
Yeah, so this time I really made my own brushes, and I have done this in the past for like personal work. So what you do is you can take like a photo of a texture and import it into, I work in Procreate, and you can import that photo and then you can pull out the textural elements that you get
Oh,
and kind of create your brush, or you can actually like create a brush from drawing. So I, again, like this book is like the epitome of a mashup. So I kind of did a lot of those different things and created these wool brushes. And then I didn't use just one. So I layered different textures, and that's again what you're seeing in the art.
yeah,
So
show everybody that.
yeah. So there's a lot of different layers and like little fuzzies that come from, I'll show you the back too, that come there. And it's honestly layering. There's some value changes, which was kind of neat too, to play with shading and
Mhm.
having these textures. So it was really a wonderful learning experience for me. Even, potentially more so than any of the other projects that I've worked on up to this point.
That's really cool because, I've seen, other work that you've done and you still maintain that Ashley style while like bringing in all of these other techniques. So that's really cool.
Oh, thank you. I think that's something that illustrators in general, like we work on constantly, is like creating a recognizable style for our work. So I'm loving that mine has kind of, come out here within the last couple of years. It takes us a long time to kind of get to that point. I feel like it's always there. It's just up to us to like peel back the layers and find it in there. And then once you do and you kind of like find your niche, then you're just like off to the races and you can create some, really fun things because you're comfortable with
Mhm.
making, and it also really helps with your self-confidence. And that's something that I know every creative person, we all have to, deal with those types of things. So it's been really, really fun. So thank you for saying that.
So we need to note that there is a big cast of characters in this book and on the Sheep Crew. So how did you handle then illustrating a story with so many main characters?
Yeah, so there are 6 sheep in this crew, and with my art, I love adding details. Like my middle name is always add more. Like I will add more things, I will add more things until somebody tells me to stop. And I would honestly probably still be working on my first book, Frankenstein, had somebody not been like, this is a deadline. I just love to add the things. So with this book, there are, like I said, six different sheep characters. So this is one of my like most packed spreads. So I have to show the whole crew, throughout. So I had to kind of scale back my use of spots, which was another great challenge that this book presented me with. So I was able to kind of think of the crew as one character with 6 different parts, and I gave them each kind of their own personality.
Yeah, you do. You
So
definitely see
yeah.
that.
So we have the captain, and then I was thinking about like iconic details for pirates. So like, bandanas, an earring, eye patches. So each sheep kind of has their own accessory that creates their own identity. And I think that was kind of fun too, because typically like the books that I've worked on have like one or two main characters. And then if there are additional ones, they're just like side characters who come in for a page or two, and then they're, really not there anymore. So that was really fun. Again, a wonderful learning experience. And I actually really liked it. They're called crowd scenes when you've got, in picture books where you've got lots and lots of characters. So it was like everyone was a crowd scene. So really, really fun.
Okay, now you poured a lot into each character. Do you have a favorite?
I do. Okay. So my favorite is this guy right here with the eye patch.
Yeah.
So on the front cover, he's the one who's like, really flailing here. So yeah. I like the poof on top of his head, like to add more wool, because I got like so into drawing all this wool. So the ones that have the more wool, those would be my favorite ones.
Nice. Okay. So Sheepwrecked was released this month. I just know you have other stuff already in progress. What is coming up next for you?
Yeah, so I'm actually working on an early graphic novel series. Yeah, I'm working on developing a couple of new things. I'm kind of like dipping my toe into some different genres. So I'm just like right now experimenting with a lot of things. And I will have another picture book coming out too. So I'm super excited for these things to all get announced. And I'm also just working on things on the side. I
Mhm,
feel like I cannot work on something for very long before I have to like switch gears.
mhm.
So I'll constantly be like developing new ideas. So right now all of my next things are in development at this point. So I'm getting ready to set sail on my book tour for Sheepwrecked, and I've got lots of events coming up. So what's next for me is lots of developmental things and lots of events. So I'm really
Awesome.
looking
So
forward to it.
speaking of events, tell everybody how they can stay up to date on latest releases, events, everything going on with Ashley Belote and her other illustrator works.
Yeah, so everybody can follow my website. It's just ashleybelote.com. And I'm very active on right now on Instagram and Twitter X. That's where I post most of my things. Also on my Facebook, which is just at Ashley Belote Illustration for Facebook and Instagram. And then on Twitter X, I'm at Ashley Belote and the number one. And I'm constantly posting things. I try to keep up with my events on my website. I do the best that I can. So, but yeah, my social media is great. I do a lot of stories and stuff on there. So that's the best way.
Will we see you in September at the fall conference?
Yes, I will totally be there. I cannot wait. It's coming fast, you
I know.
know?
It's gonna be
Be here
before you know it.
like before. I can't believe that it's almost August. Like that makes me, oh my gosh.
I know this year's flying by.
It really is. Yeah.
Again, congratulations. Thank you so much for joining me. And I'm so excited about Sheepwrecked. So adorable. Thanks so much for joining me.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, Micki. I really appreciate it.